That'll start now. Okay, thanks. Yep. Okay, folks, just a couple minutes. YouTube folks, if you're hearing the stream, let me know. You got good sound, you got 1080p, all that good stuff. Zoom folks, you're seeing the screen all right, correct?
Correct.
Okay, awesome.
And YouTube's going now too.
Okay, good.
1080p in Houston, perfect screen sound.
Awesome.
I am muted now.
Yeah, we're still letting folks in, folks, so just bear with me another minute. I'm setting up one more thing, and then we'll be ready to go. Okay, folks, we're going to get going. Thanks again for joining. Today I'm planning on doing a couple things that I want to emphasize on, and I put in some of the meeting notes that I want to go to some advanced issues this week. And one of the things that we'll be covering the basics of is how to build a portfolio in the WaveTech tool. And then about an hour from now, I'm going to introduce somebody. I'm going to introduce Charles Cottle, and he is a good friend of mine. And we're going to talk about setting up options trades using WaveTech briefly. So, and then after all that happens, and we'll do Q&A. So we'll probably run. This is probably going to be a 2-hour ordeal today. So hang with me. Real quick, but I know everybody's on their mind and why everyone's here. I want to talk about the markets just for a second, because everybody wants to know what's going on. I got Tesla on over here. By the way, Tesla's, I mean, this is a top forming here, by the way. This is a daily, but I just want, folks I've gotten some emails and some private messages on Twitter and what have you. So if you happen to be watching, the markets are starting to show some weakness here. I still think we're going to see a broader trading range set up across the board. And I think we're about to enter into, we'll just call it the summertime blues. I should have that as a opening song. I think we're going to see this thing really go into a sideways trading range, but I think it's going to be a broad range. And I've talked about this on the video. So the fact that we sold off a bit today doesn't really affect any of the analysis, and from the standpoint of what's likely to continue. So just wanted to put that out there. I'm really disappointed. We've been working on trying to get the cryptos in. We had a great trade 3-4 days ago at 96 and change, getting long Bitcoin and some of these other coins. So I'm disappointed we haven't been able to get that project moving at the level I wanted to. But anyway, it will be hopefully going in the next couple of days. All right, so one of the things I'm going to focus today as we go through talking about how to use the WaveTech tool, how to basically get a context of what it's intended to do. And a lot of folks, especially on the YouTube channel, are showing up. They haven't seen this tool before, so we're going to just do a slight introduction. So those of you, I've seen the list of folks on there, and I know there's some already veterans. We'll launch this product just a little bit over 2 months ago, and what we're seeing is a lot of enthusiasm, and we're working on putting a couple groups together, trying to get folks even further engaged. I've had some really good conversations with users out there, and that's been very exciting from the standpoint of getting engagement in the product. And the whole concept behind this portfolio management tool is just that. It's a portfolio management tool. It's not the WaveTech Training tool, although there's a lot of signals coming out of here. It gets harder and harder to, for example, on Monday, we had, if I go over to the home page here, you'll see we have 1,500 signals come out. And that's pretty difficult to try to figure out which trades are good and bad. We had 1,521 come out on just a 1.2. And I've come up with some ideas which is going to tie together when I introduce Charles here in around 2:30 local time here, so about 15 minutes from now, we'll bring in Charles, and he and I've been working in the background on a platform, on a way to look at the signals and put wrappers around all the strategies using options and things. I think you'll find it interesting. We'll probably do some more tomorrow in the live stream. We'll take some time and do that as well. So there's quite a bit of stuff to go through. And this WaveTech platform has research. It has the ability for you to do some queries. You can look through our database, look for signals. Every one of our signals has a rating on it. I'll show you some of this stuff. I'll do a very quick walkthrough. I want to do about 10 minutes, like super zoom through this thing as far as what's going on and what the platform is actually doing. But there's just a ton of information in here, and it comes down to trying to figure out exactly where you find your ideas. And one of the things that I have suggested over the last couple months since we've had this product out on the market for retail users is to come up with a constituent list. And I'm multitasking while I'm getting things going here, because there are some things that I figured out, and we're going to put this out on the platform so you don't have to look them up beyond this point. Yeah, there's just a lot of folks showing up late here. Just let me bring these in. And what's happening, as we look at the platform, like I said, if you get 1,500 trades, it's overwhelming to try to figure out what's good. So ultimately, what you want to do is to be able to get a constituent list. And if one of the things that I'm going to use today to show you what I put together, and I built a couple. I built a couple lists just so you could have some ideas on how to find trades, and the best way to do it is to come up with your own constituent list. So if you have a bunch of stocks that you watch, it could be ETFs or stocks or whatever it is that you're watching. Virtually everything is in the platform. There's 16,600 symbols in the platform, so you can find the trades on everything. And for those of you first time watching, I'll just show you a couple things very quickly. But in the platform, if we go to research, you're going to see that there is 16,571 symbols. There's buy and exit symbols on everything from the standpoint of every symbol in there has what we call a map or a trade profile. It tells you when it buys and when to buy and sell, how long it holds, what the expected returns are, what everything that you're seeing on that you see in here has 100% transparency, so you can get an idea for whether the models are working out. Now, 16,571 symbols. Does it work in every symbol? No. That's why we have a self-rating system in there so that you can see where the validations of these symbols and what they are, so you can see exactly what's good and what's bad from that standpoint. So there is 100% transparency. If we just bring in, this will be interesting to look at. I'm just going to go to our daily search here, and I'm going to put Apple in here just so you can see some of the transparency here. So Apple, just a couple days ago, we had a sell signal in Apple, and you'll see that come up. Now okay, so yeah, it actually got knocked out on that big spike down the other day, but that's okay. It made quite a bit on this last trade. So if we go to the model overview, you'll see the very last trade made 43%. It bought on 327 at 252, sold 263, 43.9, call it 44% on the trade. But every one of the trades here is got full transparency, and you can see every transaction. This is on a short-term model. There's literally, let's see how many trades there are. 240 trades on this model, going all the way back to 1980. So you can see the good trades, the bad trades, all the transparency that is right there. So you can go through every symbol on the database. Right now, it is just a couple days before the end of the month, so you can sign up for a trial by going to Kendall Report/WaveTech, and that will get you started. Just so you know, it's an automatic rebilling, so you'll get in for not very much money, like $15 today, because a couple of days ago, maybe $12, and then on the first of the month it rolls over. And I would suggest if you can get started on this and spend a month with us, you're going to see some amazing opportunities that are going to crop up, especially since I believe the market is going to start this really broad consolidation range. There's going to be a ton of sell signals coming out of this database very soon. But the platform itself has a full top-down research. You can go through all 16,000 symbols by sector. You can break it down by clicking on a sector. You can see individual industry groups, and then ultimately I'm just randomly clicking through. You get down to individual symbols, and it shows you all the returns and trades on everything that's in this database. These were actually new buys for the 27th, was yesterday. These came out. This is our weekly, so these are new trades that came out just yesterday. So anyway, there's everything in there. And then what this platform was really built for, and what we're going to focus on here today in the first segment of this training, is actually building portfolios. And I am going to log out of this account, so bear with me a second. All right, so I just logged into another account. That was an administrative account. There's too much going on there. So what this platform was built for was to manage your own portfolios, and more importantly, to be able to build your own personal mutual funds. We have an institutional platform that we run, and in that, we're actually working on a retail rollout for that product. And what you can do is you can actually virtually build your own ETFs, and you build your own baskets, dynamic baskets of stocks. So the original, you'll see where my mouse is right now, it's a virtual portfolio manager. That's exactly what I built. The concept for this came out in 1994, which is I wanted to automate the entire investment process. Otherwise, when to buy and sell, how much to buy and sell, and then when markets started to roll over and there was a lot of risk in there, then what the plan was to be able to protect the capital by going to cash and ebbing back in and out of the markets. Now with our new product, we can actually run models on what we call multivariant. You can trade short-term, intermediate, and long-term all within one portfolio. It's like having a whole room of analysts around telling you when to buy and sell, and you can actually back test these things. There's all types of things that you can do to manage your own money. And the real goal here has always been is to help individuals manage their money. Now, we worked directly with investment advisors for many years, and that was wonderful. But I believe what we're going to do with the retail segment of the market is going to give the power to you folks to be able to run your own money, build some very dynamic processes, and you'll see as we go down the trail here that we're going to be able to ultimately automate the trading process with your broker dealer and be able to do a lot of things that are going to make life much easier for you. And if you don't have time to sit in front of a screen and you're not a day trader and you actually have a job, then you don't have to be focused on doing that. This is an end of day process, which means we collect, as far as this system looks at right now, we have not, today hasn't happened yet. At around 5 o'clock New York time, we actually pull down the data from our data vendor. We crunch the numbers, update all the quant models on every 16,000 symbols and change. There's actually about 10.5 million calculations being done. It updates all the portfolios, gives you the returns, and if you have it on a short-term basis, it will tell you anything you need to buy or sell on the next session. So the way it works is we give you a buy or sell signal today after the close, when the servers update roughly about 8:30 Eastern time. And once that's run, it will tell you for the next data point that we can see is actually the open tomorrow morning. And the open also has another characteristic. I'm an former market maker on exchanges, and one of the things about the openings, especially New York openings, and a lot of these broker dealers have found a way to suck on the float of the opening ranges. So there's a reason why there's no more transaction, because they're selling their order flow, and they have always sold their order flow. But now that is their primary source of money. So there are some games. I saw a interesting article probably in the last 2 weeks on Zero Hedge that was talking about how maybe your broker dealer is front running your orders. And I can tell you, I was on the Pacific Options Exchange when the Charles Schwab broker was walking up to the pit. It was almost, you could hear the slurping around the pit because they knew it was free money because we're going to be able to scalp that order. And that's just the way that's the way it goes. My old joke at the time was membership has its privileges, like the American Express. But this has always been part of the market. Whether there's any kind of real conspiracy and things going on, it's hard to tell. You know, I am the market order king. I put everything in on market orders when I'm trading. I don't use limit orders for the most part because one of my first manners used to say limit orders, limit business. Now, I was a broker, so if you put a market order, you're guaranteed to be filled. You just have to understand the markets. You have to understand the depth and the volume and those type of things of what you're trying to buy and sell versus what's out there. So we won't go down that trail any further than that. But those are the type of things that they're doing. So the whole platform, the research, the report builder, the watch list, all of these things were based on one concept, which was ultimately to build a mutual fund or what we call personal fund. And we've been, like I said, we've been doing this for over 22 years for investment community. Now we're giving this out to you folks, and I've already seen some amazing portfolios that have been built. We can see what you guys build, right? So we can see what's going on here. So it's a lot of fun. I call it like having a financial sandbox to play in. And you can go in, you can back test, you can change some settings and things of that sort, and it's pretty powerful. When we get our next level, we have other products that we're going to bring out, and they're going to have even more dynamics down the road. But this is a great way to get involved, to get introduced to this platform. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to go through a couple screens here that what they're going to do is give us some context here of what we're going to talk about in building portfolios. And I've went through this before. I've already went through a lot of these things already, the trading models and watch lists, so I can spin through some of this presentation. And one of the things, and we'll build a portfolio here in just a minute, but one of the things that I built into this platform way back in 1998 when we first started building these models is what we were seeing is, we didn't want to make it too complex. We wanted to have a step-by-step wizard. So I think there's 10 or 12 steps. I'm not sure exactly it, but it's going to walk you through step-by-step on what information you need to tell the software so that you can manage the portfolio. And once you get to understanding some of these basic concepts here, then you can you get an idea of how to build these portfolios. And like I said, you can back test these things, and then you can walk forward ideas. So you can make a decision today that at the end of next week, end of next month, end of next quarter, I'm going to change the stocks that I'm trading. You can combine fundamental analysis with the quant stuff that we're delivering to you. And in fact, we suggest that that's exactly what you do, is you provide those types of informations. You use fundamentals and other elements to find your constituent list, and then ultimately you bring those in and you screen them down, and they make a cut to get into the models. And then you also want to make sure that you research each one of the symbols to make sure it's one of the symbols of the 16,000 that has a high rating. Now, there's some videos on the website that if you want to see more about understanding the ratings and all that, but you can go to portfolioexpert.com, and that's expert without an E, so it's portfolio with an expert.com. There, underneath support, there's some WaveTech. If you just want to check things out, you can go there and watch those videos, and you can just look at the WaveTech Training, how to set up trades. There's a long one on what I'm going to go through in a few minutes here. Is just the basic building blocks of bringing in a portfolio, building your own mutual fund. And we try to tell everybody, be really creative, call these, really brand them to yourself so they can become a part of what you're doing, not just stock portfolio. Come up with some interesting names, and we've seen some great names come out of this stuff. But ultimately, the goal is to generate some alpha, to protect assets when markets get crazy. If you would have been using this product back in January, we started selling in January 21 through all all the way into February. And of course, and when March hit, there was a big dump of assets that happened then as well. But there were a lot of assets that were already moving. Protection was being taken before the market started to roll over. And the result of that was having protection coming into the disaster. Now, the short-term models were amazing. And most of those started buying literally 3 and 4 days after the low was put in, and we saw some amazing opportunities. And I would just, make a side comment here that all the easy money in this market has been made. So if you got lucky, you're like Dave Portnoy, and you bought the low, and now you think the market's easy, you're about to find out that it's not easy. And you're going to find out that you're going to find out that it's going to be more difficult, and a tool like this is actually going to be more useful. So understanding the basic philosophies of this platform is really using the portfolio wizard, as I mentioned just a minute ago. It'll walk you through step by step. How many stocks is a good answer. It really depends on the amount of money you have, but that may not even count anymore. As fractional shares come into play, you're now able to do more stocks and not have to have a ton of money to be able to do this. And so that's good. One of the key elements that I'm working on right now is getting a trade automation. And the unfortunate part in the world that we've lived in for 20-some plus years is most of our customers have a way to put in batch orders, and I'm not seeing that accessibility on individual accounts right now. And so some of the stuff you have to put in these orders individually, which is a complete a complete pain in the ass from the standpoint of being able to put on and run a large block of stock. So we're working on being able to get those exportable so that you can pass these multiple trades at one time. And I'm researching that right now. But the whole concept here is being able to put these stocks in, build a mutual fund. One of the things here, number 3, matching orders, how to match so you're going to be in sync and you can start your mutual fund, your strategy. And then today I'm going to touch on a couple of things on updating the constituents. I'm going to go through a little more detail on the video that I mentioned on the Portfolio Expert website. There is a very detailed video there, but I'm going to touch on this again because I want to actually, when we open up for customers, I want to be able to focus in on some of these elements. So, and that updating the constituents is number 5, which is maintaining the process. So what I hope is that to teach the public how to be able to function like a money manager and how to potentially use fundamentals, data mining, and some other elements to actually build some quality strategies. It's not as hard as you think. I will tell you that a lot of folks that we've taught weren't very skilled. They might have been in the business, but they weren't very skilled at building portfolios. And we've taught them how to do it. And what I've already seen out of the retail group and the people that are engaged with this product right now, I've already seen a huge difference, and I guess in the level that you folks appear in some ways to be more adaptive than some of the folks that have been locked into an industry with a lot of ideology and buy and hold and pie charts. So this is not a pie chart strategy at all. So basically everything at the end really should be a summary. Building and maintaining is what this is all about. I think this is going to be, I'll go through this screen here. This is important to understand from this standpoint. And like I said, there are videos on the website under support, under WaveTech Training. There are videos that are going to walk you through some of these basic concepts. And it's like anything, every one of the trades that we put out in this system has an expected holding period. It has an expected return. It has the average, what the losses are. Everything is, there's a map on every trade in this system. And that is important to understand, because now you're actually not only getting a signal, someone's telling you, it's not like you got a newsletter and some guy goes, oh, it's going to, buy it here. Yeah, they're going to show you, here's what we think is going to happen. Well, this is actually a statistical map that goes through the math of everything that is occurred in the past. And the more trades you have out of one of these models, the more normalized and more the statistical map has merit. Sometimes you'll look at a symbol, it's only got 2 or 3 trades. It's way too early to get a real good feel, but I can only tell you that the models are good at recognizing trends and grasping onto those trends, even if this ER rating, which is the first thing on this page, even if that ER rating is not above a certain level that we suggest, which is you want to be above 100 on that. So anyway, this whole thing, what we're talking about here, is you don't want to buy a symbol that we normally hold 250 days and it's been long for 232 days, and you look at the map and it says that normally it makes 30% and the symbol's already up 26%. That's just called you missed that trade. Find another symbol. There's 16,500 of them. The other thing that we've seen over the years is somebody goes, well, this is my favorite stock to trade. This is my favorite ETF, whatever. It doesn't trade it very well. Well, there's one that it probably does that is correlated or likes it, acts and is tradable within the context of maybe the same industry group or something. Some of these stocks, and dividend stocks are really dogs for the most part. The whole concept between the dividend stocks is, getting paid while you wait, which is, if you were around in 2008, what you would have ended up with is those were the stocks with the most risk, were the dividend stocks. They were the financial stocks, the banks, and a lot of those stocks that are paying dividends were the epicenter of the crisis. But anyway, this is a good way to understand this. And then the last thing I'll touch on here, and then we're just going to build a portfolio, and I'll tell you what I did. I brought up a spreadsheet a minute ago that I had set up. But this is developing the universe. I just put some basic screen criteria. That screen criteria works, but you don't have to use that. But you can go to a screener, Portfolio 123. There's free stuff on Yahoo and Google. There's plenty of stuff all over the internet. And if you're really sophisticated and have a lot of money, you can pay up for a fact set or Reuters Knowledge or something like that. But for the most part, what we're seeing is, these screeners will help to guide you in a way. So the whole concept here is to start with a large universe, go down this pyramid here. We narrow it down to 20 or 50 stocks, and then you apply the ratings. You want to make sure that the duration and the ERs and all that stuff that's in these other videos are there. Now I'm just going to build, what we're going to do here is we're going to build a random portfolio, and I'll tell you how I got the stocks. And I'll bring them, I'm going to bring spreadsheet on the screen here before we start this. But I went on, I guess another source would be something like barchart.com. This I got off barchart.com. I said, give me the symbols that have the most volume in option trading. So I built 2 portfolios. We're going to build another one just so you can see what the process looks like. And then we're going to talk just for a few minutes on how to maintain and change some of the symbols inside this database. So I'm copying all of these symbols. There's a ton of them. There's 98. And matter of fact, let's do something. Let's just make it different. Let's just grab a random batch of these things. We'll grab 25, the top 25 out of this. And I believe they are categorized as the highest volume symbol. So I'm going to copy that into clipboard. So all I have to do to start a portfolio is pretty simple. I just go into the virtual portfolio manager. It's going to bring up this wizard. So I hit create, modify. I'm going to call this options live. So I just picked 25 random symbols. They were most likely the top 25 optionable stocks that have the most volume, at least for the snapshot that I did the other day. So you'll see here, I have the name up here, options live. I just hit next, and it's gonna back test all of these symbols I'm putting in back to 2015. We automatically set it back for 5 years. Our database, however, goes back to the first day of trading on any symbol, or to 1980. So you're looking at the back test for the last 5 years, but if you want to go back further and you know the symbols you're putting in, you can. Like I said, it goes to 1980, January 2nd, 1980. So it goes back a long ways. So we'll just leave it set here at 2015. We're going to leave these settings right now at $100,000 in the account. And you need to, let me back up before I just skip over that step. When you're doing this, you need to make sure, if you put a lot of stocks in here, originally, if I would have copied everything off that spreadsheet, there were 98 stocks in there. You're going to have to make sure there's adequate amount of capital to handle that many stocks. So you probably put $500,000 or even $1 million. It doesn't matter how much you put in the model, because ultimately when you get a buy or sell signal, it's going to be delivered in a percentage of symbols that you're going to, otherwise it's going to tell you buy 5.3% of your portfolio, and you look at what the total portfolio you're putting into, and you just figure out, well, 5%, that's the number of shares that you're going to get, okay? So we'll just go ahead through here, and we'll go through and explain all these steps. But there is a very detailed video on portfolioexpert.com. We're going to leave all these settings here. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to high activity. I'm going to set this to high activity and low liquidity. And all this is going to do is it tells me I'm going to be targeting the use of 100% of my capital. Transaction fees, this says on the screen, this is functions for advisors only. So I'm going to build this 25 stock portfolio, the top 25 options stocks. I'm just going to cut and paste those into this box. You'll see that I put in from all these down, and all I have to do then is hit next on the next. You know what? I knew I did that. Hang with me 1 second. These things are not text. I had this issue last night. I saved the wrong spreadsheet, so bear with me 1 second. I just got to manipulate this. Just got to put it into a text editor. Take me just a second. Yeah, if there's any formatting, it doesn't know how to deal with the formatting. I think this will work. I've just copied these in another platform here. So I'm dropping these in. There we go. So I dropped them in, and what you'll see when you get to this page is a bunch of green buttons, and that's a good thing, because what that tells you is that there's live data. Otherwise, all the data is up to date. And you'll notice the last date known is 7/27. If you came in late, this is an end-of-day process. We update the servers. We get new data for today in about 3 hours. It updates, runs all 16,000 symbols, and then updates your portfolios, and it will take you, and then it will, all your portfolios will be updated. Any signals that you might have, that'll do it. So this is the last date known, so that's good. That's yesterday. Management fees for advisors only. So we click through this. The next step, when I click this next step, what it just did, it calculated how to use the capital. And this particular approach is called a demand on capital strategy. And what it does is it figures out what the average holding of these 25 symbols are per day. I told it to use all of the capital, otherwise be aggressive. You'll see up here, based on my high activity, low liquidity, it's run there. It takes just a second. It chugs through all the stocks, figures out how to allocate those funds based on what's going on. And so all I have to do is hit next. And on the right-hand side now, you'll see, I'll highlight this, the initial allocation factor is 8.27. So this, it says I'm done. All I have to do is hit this, and I click this. There's a little, you have to close this box. It says options live has been queued for allocation. And you'll see where here's the portfolio we just built, options live. And it picks up this, until it runs, it picks up the value above it. But you'll see it's in allocation queue. And over on the left, you hit this portfolio access. And it takes approximately, depending on where we hit on the time clock, it takes every minute we're looking for new strategies that have been built and need to be run or updated. So let's see where we are now. Yeah, okay, so it's already run. So that was a good one. 46%. This is a weekly. So all we have to do now is we click on the options live, and here's our equity curve. What an opportunity, folks. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never seen trade like what we've seen off of this COVID mess. This was unbelievable. Like I said earlier, the easy money has been made. It's going to get, you're going to have to be a lot more skilled going forward. It's going to go back to the old school. But you can see here, everything that's happened, it shows that our current, this was as of yesterday, that this portfolio was up 2.7%. Last week it was down 1%, and year to date it's up 46%. Now there's 24 symbols I dumped in there. The last market high or equity high for this strategy was 9 market days ago, and the drawdown is 4.15%. So it's peaked off the last peak. It's 4.1% off of the high. As we look at some of the other stats, everything has been built out. Active symbols 24, projected. You look here, the longs are 18, current longs. If there were orders, this projected column would change. It would show if we had buys or sells going on. So if we were, right now, 96.99% of this capital's being used. It's full on at the moment. And we built an intermediate model. So I'm going to blast through some details here. Then I'm going to rebuild the same model on a daily process or a short-term trading model. But you can see these are down below month-to-month returns, annual returns, all of that. So if we go over here to, let's go over to performance. And we want to compare this to the S&P 500. We'll put it there. The black line below is the S&P 500. So from 2015 to current, the S&P 500 is up about 17, 18%. The strategy is up about 30. And definitely with some volatility. This COVID thing got everyone, but the rebound on this thing is insane. Where we're still waiting for the S&P to make a new high. I believe we have the composite in here, so it'd be interesting. There we go. So the composite was a little tighter to this strategy. And if you look at the symbols in there, it's mostly NASDAQ symbols. So this is probably a better comparison. But even then, it just blew through the top. So the composite from 15 is up about 23. This is up closer to 28. So definitely some value being there, going there. And both of these indexes, so this would be your personal mutual fund of 24 symbols. And I literally, they were just based on what I told you is the top optionable stocks that are out there. There's something else on this page, shows rolling returns. This shows you what would happen if you started on any month and carried that month forward. So these are look back dates. So from 20 on this 2017, this 55 plus, if you would have started in January of 2016, you would have made 55%. Down below is a 2-year return. So if you went back to 2015, there's NA because there weren't 2 years between the start date of this portfolio, which was 2015, and the current date. So we're looking at 38 on the 2-year return. You see, if you go from 2016 to 2018, look back, that's 115. But you can see the rolling returns. It gives you your worst, best. So you get a feel for what your personal mutual fund, ETF, whatever you want to call it. The beauty of this thing is if you have the right broker dealer, you have no internal costs. If you go buy SPY and you go buy all these other ETFs, you're paying to play. There's a cost to play. So in this stuff, there's a little more work to this. Like I said, when we get this system so we can automate these batch orders, and I believe what I'm seeing so far, and I'm looking at them really closely right now, is Interactive Brokers seems to have the best platform so far for potentially doing basket orders. So if you're watching this channel or anybody on the Zoom meeting, if you know like broker dealers that can do batch orders, that's exactly what we want to be able to drop these in, and we can through this system it bills and tells you exactly how many shares and what to buy. So there's some pretty straightforward things out there as far as that goes. Okay. The one thing I'm going to touch on, and I saw that our guest has joined us, so I will introduce him in about 10 minutes here. Just want to touch on a couple things that we can do that with a portfolio. So since we just built this portfolio, but let's say we built it 3 months ago or we built it in last year, and we want to change some symbols that are in there. So all we have to do is we're going to go to our options live strategy down here, and we can do something really quickly. We can skip through these steps. We don't have to go step by step. So I'm going to go to a create custom portfolio. I'm going to look at my list on the other page, and I'm going to grab 2 random symbols. Yeah, this will be fun. We'll play a little game. So I'm going to take out randomly. I'm going to take out BA, and we'll take out, I don't know what, maybe I should know, but let's take out VALE. So those are 2 symbols that we're going to take out of the system, and we're going to add 2 in. We'll add them in on January 1st for fun. And we're going to go mRNA. We'll put a COVID stock in there. And then we'll put in BABA. We'll put Alibaba in there. Okay? So first thing I do is I insert those symbols in. They go in this box because it's going to find the best models for those symbols. So I'm going to hit, one second. So I hit next, and now we'll see those symbols down here. You'll see Madeira right there. It's got a button. It's got a green button, so the data is good. The other one is Baba. It'll be up at the top here. There it is, Alibaba. And what's happened so far, and this is a concept that's like so important, is it put the symbols in there from the inception date back to 2015. And if those symbols didn't exist, then it would track it back to the date. So I'm going to change something. I'm going to go start with Baba, and we're going to just take this, and it shows right now that it started on 2015. Well, I'm going to click the stop button. I'm going to say, don't trade it. But then on January 2nd of 2020, I'm going to go start and hit apply. And now you'll see the entries of 2015 stop, and then January 2nd, 2020 start. So what happened is I told it, don't trade Alibaba until January 2nd, 2020. Give me all the symbols give me all the signals after that date. Once I've got that, I'm done. And then the other symbols I said, BA. So BA, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you I'll blow that up, and I'm going to show you on BA we started, but on January 2nd, 2020, we're going to stop trading it. So I'm going to go stop, and I'm going to hit apply. Okay? Now what you see on the screen is a red button. That means that trade is no longer active in the system, and I'll show you one thing before we move on. The other symbol was VALE. It's down here. We're gonna click on that. It do the same thing that we did a second ago. It's traded on the 2012. I'm sorry, on 2020. On January 2nd, we're going to go to stop. You hit apply. You'll see down below now there's a red button down below. And then the last action we need to take is to go on this Madeira. We started that. It shows green. So when we look at that, you're going to see it shows January 2nd, 2015. I don't want to trade it then. I'm going to go to January 2020, and I'm going to hit start, and then I'm going to apply it. And I'll show you what those settings look like. So we've got it all done. You can see stopped on, so it didn't trade it from the beginning, but started trading on the 20th. But any of those symbols that we did, now that we've closed out that box, if I go to BA, I click on it, it's going to show me those settings, exactly what I'm doing. And when things get down the road and you do a bunch of these, you also want to actually go in here and you can save it. So I can call Bob's. I tell everybody to put Bob's update. We'll call it 7/28. 7/28/2020, and hit OK. What I should have done is I should have shown you. I should have said it before I changed anything. I should have saved it, and then I do my updates. And if I want to go back to my previous save, I can actually go back in iterations of my portfolio without changing things. I know I'm getting a little technical here, but this was deemed as some advanced ideas here. Once that's all done, I'm going to leave all my settings the same. I'm not going to change any allocations. I'm going to go to the bottom step, go to allocate finish, and click this, and you'll see it's back in the allocation queue. I hit the OK button at the top, and now this portfolio is running again. And like I said, it takes about a minute, I'm just going to keep refreshing the page. You have two options. You hit Portfolio Access, or you can just click on the Virtual Portfolio Manager. And when it refreshes, it takes, like I said, about a minute. But once we get that done, the portfolios can be updated. No longer going to trade the two symbols. It's not going to trade Boeing. It's not going to trade VALE. But it is going to start trading mRNA and Alibaba. And there probably should be trades around those dates. We'll see what comes out of this thing. Okay, actually did better. It was good taking those out, I think. So now we go to the live, and what we're going to be able to do here is go to the trade log. And what we should see, let's go back to, yeah, here we go. Look at this. Here's both of those stocks we added on January 2nd. Baba bought, it bought $9,700 worth of that stock based on the valuation of this account. And mRNA, it bought $9,726. And then you'll see above this, there's some other orders coming in, Neo and some other stuff that's in this strategy. And you can see every transaction that has occurred. These reallocation cells are rebalancing. That means we had more ideas than we had money. You also see the VALE, the VALE, we sold it on the 2nd. What was the other thing? We put Boeing. It probably had no position there, and it did no trades this year, which probably was, I think, probably a decent trade. But anyway, once you make these updates, you can walk it forward. We could have decided that, you know what, I still like the symbols that we took out, but let's not turn them off. Let's do it at the 1st of September. So we could have put the 1st of September dates, and you just sit there, and when you come in one day, you're going to come in on September, whatever you set it for. It can be any day of the week, actually, but typically on an intermediate basis, we tell you to do the orders on Monday and rebuild them on Monday, and you're done. And it's going to you're going to log in, you got orders, and everything's done. So, boy, I'm right on the money here at 2:30. Pretty impressive. Before we do any questions on this stuff, I want to bring. I know I've got Charles Cottle with me, and I think we're going to do some concepts here and just talk in general. We'll see how this all goes, and I think I had it up here a minute ago, Charles. If you unmute yourself, you should be able to unmute yourself. Yep.
Can everybody hear me?
I hear you fine.
Oh, great.
So
I can hear me too.
yeah, great. That'll be annoying. You need to turn that off. Just real quick, Charles and I have known each other for a long, long time. Not forever and ever, but about 22 years. And he introduced me to a guy named Tom Snozoff, which he was a friend of his, and I'll let him tell his story on that. But he's going to be coming in and showing us how to use options, to use WaveTech with options, how to build strategies and some things like that. Charles, why don't you just tell your story? I just wanted to introduce you a little bit.
Sure. Well, I don't know how many people have heard of Thinkorswim. It was my original business plan. And the reason I developed it or pursued the development of Thinkorswim was because I was trading penny stocks in the dot-com boom, just not only penny stocks, but all sorts of, internet boom stocks. And my background was a market maker on all three exchanges in Chicago, the CBOT, the CBOE first, and then the CME before they merged. And I had 20 traders that I trained and personally trained, and I traded in every options pit on the Merck and on the Board of Trade. Those were commodities, options on futures. But I started my career on the CBOE and General Motors stocks. And I would go into a trade in a pit like Deutschmarks or cattle or soybeans or any of the options contracts, get a feel for what it was, develop a position, and then I would train an underling and have them take over the position and be a market maker representing me and my group in that particular underlying. And it grew to about 20 different traders at one point in the 80s. I have it all ended, that whole chapter, in 87 during the crash when I inherited from one of my students slash traders, a big dangerous position in the bond options. It was a spread that was 1,000 by 2,000. It was a ratio spread, a really dangerous kind of spread that I used to manage ratio spreads. And I was managing it well, but then my backers became uncomfortable with it. And so we had to bail. But the whole saga is talked about in a paper that I put together called Rocket to Quality. It was a flight to quality in the bonds. And back then it was unusual. Well, bonds recently moved about 11 or 12 points, right, Bob?
Yeah.
You probably remember a few months ago. But it did it back then in 87 during while the stock market was going nuts during the crash of 87. So anyway, the saga is all spelled out there. I won't bore you with the details, but the way I managed it is all spelled out in there, where I invented this little process called ratio analysis, and I spell it all out in there. Anyway, that ended my career there, but then I met Tony Saliba in 89 when I was back trading on the Merck after the crash, and spent some time trading for a bank. I tried going to that sector of the industry, but it really wasn't for me. And I left that in 88, and then 89, when I was trading Eurodollar options, I met Tony Saliba. And that story is actually in a video that's up on Vimeo called Super Trader Karen, the Trading Empress. And I've emailed the link to people that work with Bob, so they will post that at some point. Also links to my books and some other courses and little special packages that I put together after talking to Bob about what might be the appetite for his audience, you guys, so and gals. And so let's see.
Charles, I want to talk about a couple things. Is that I think one of the things that is important to understand, that you used to travel around the world and teach traders on all these exchanges, from banks and everywhere, right? To train them how to trade options as well, correct?
Exactly. And so right after I talk about that in the video with Tony, meeting him, I then started working as director of instruction and created all the original materials for International Trading Institute, which was Tony Saliba's school, where I spent 6 months at a time in 6 major European cities, including Stockholm and Copenhagen and Madrid and Frankfurt, Dusseldorf, and Vienna. And we had people from all over the world come to our offices in Chicago. And this was at a time when electronic options trading was beginning. Just an apple in the eye of what Globex was trying to be. It didn't have options back then, but what later became prevalent on the CBOE and on the ISE, where you could trade options. Those were the precursors in all those other countries where they didn't have open outcry market makers. Maybe 1 or 2 of the countries did, like Sweden, but they were really small markets, but their markets exploded in the 90s. And I spent the first 5 years of the 90s training banks who were the market makers, as opposed to individuals like us on the floor in Chicago. So it was then, they didn't even have spreading capabilities. You could only trade single options. So back to zoom forward to during the dot-com era, I was, still wanting to be able to trade options, which you could start to do by sending some orders electronically, but it wasn't an electronic interface at the level of the exchanges. Like Knight would get the order, and then they would call it down or send the order down to the booth on the floor of the exchange, and then a runner would run it in, and it would be open outcry. But even though you might have sent it electronically from your brokerage firm, but I envisioned having direct click the price, modify it, click a spread, modify the price, send it in the order, and nobody had anything like that. So I put together a little business plan that I was actually I sent it to Ameritrade, Schwab, E-Trade. I got a response from the CEO of E-Trade, and he said, I was living in England at the time in the countryside. And he said, why don't you meet our CEO of E-Trade UK? So I did. We got together for lunch, and I told him all my stuff that I had with this vision. He goes, well, those ideas are really American. I'm going to send you back to the CEO in the US and take it up with him. So while I was waiting for that whole thing to happen, I called Tom, who was my best friend for 20 years. It was my clerk at one point.
What's Tom's last name? Snozlov?
You can find him on Tasty Trade. He was the biggest shareholder and founder of Thinkorswim. And I approached him, and just to proofread my business proposal, having no idea that he would say at the end of the conversation, we can do it. So he and another friend of his raised some money and embarked on the idea. And we started working on the plan. I was revamping my first book, which was written for market makers, called Options, Perception, and Deception. And I saw a price on Amazon recently. It's like $900 for this book. It's like, give me a break.
Did you sign it? Was it a signed version?
I have no idea. I mean, I did sign a bunch back in the day, but so I watered it down and took out a lot of the graphics, and it became coulda, woulda, shoulda. And when we opened our doors at Thinkorswim, we gave them away free to anybody who opened an account. But dialing it back a little bit, I would be examining all the different builds of each generation of the software, and approve it, thumbs up, thumbs down, add my notes about what features needed to be changed, what needed to be added, what enhanced, this and that. And then I know there weren't any spreads, and I go, Tom, what about the spreads? And I still have the email of him saying this. I sent him an email from England because I was working there. He was working with the team in Chicago that was growing and growing and growing. And he writes me back. He's joking. He says, the CBOE tomorrow is having a celebration, the first anniversary of the last time there was a spread order on the CBOE, implying nobody spreads, right? Well, the thing about why spreads were so important to me, and I was adamant about it, was because ever since the crash, premiums were really high. So it was really costly to buy a call or a put. And the skew was crazy in puts. The implied volatility on the put side was astronomical compared to the call side. And that's a function of supply and demand. If you know anything about covered rights or married puts or collars, the demand is for puts to put in a floor, and the enhancements comes from selling higher strike calls to enhance your returns or to lower the cost of your trade. So I said, Tom, if you don't build spreads, I'm out. I'm gone. I'm going to keep pursuing my business plan. You wasted my time. I'm not doing it. He says, begrudgingly, he said, okay, we'll build it. And the end of that story was that within, when we opened our doors which was before the exchanges were able to accept a truly electronic spread order, we were already built for it. And we were clicking those spreads day one. Well, it turned out to become like 99% of our order flow was spreads. So that insistence was very important. So I had my differences a couple of years. I moved to Chicago. I was on the desk. I got a chance to interact with retail customers for the first time in my life and talk to them and help them with their trades. And that was a great experience for me, and it taught me a lot. And so I uh, took back coulda, woulda, shoulda from the group, and I added back the graphics that everybody clamored for. They wanted to know these market maker ideas to enhance their understanding of more simple trades that would become second nature to them. And I added a dialogue for coulda, woulda, shoulda, which was me working with a market maker because all my customers were market makers and helping them manage the position and breaking down positions of hundreds of strikes in several months and puts and calls and everything, and to understand those kinds of positions without a computer and teach people how to understand it second nature rather than just believing in the black box that the options model forces you to do, because it's faster and easier and it gives you a picture, but it's not at all accurate, but it does give you a good sense of what you're going for, and it's good enough. And a tremendous time-saving device. Anyway, so that dialogue with a fellow named Lars was this market maker from the P Coast where Bob was, became that added chapter to coulda, woulda, shoulda. But then I brought back even more, especially the chapter on hybrid hedging, which is a thing I'm very passionate about. In fact, started in 2004 after I left Thinkorswim, filing for patent on these one-click hybrid hedges. So imagine, and I don't know again what our audience here is, what their understanding is of options, but if you have a position in stock, say Apple, imagine just in a couple of clicks sending an order that would turn Apple's position into a butterfly, behaving exactly like a butterfly within a cent or two. And so I finally getting all the I got 40% of the patents they're issuing any day now, and I'm reapplied for the other 60% on a fast track, and we should be getting those in the next 90 days. And then I'll be getting on my horse to find the right partners to bring it into some sort of a platform so that people can do this with all sorts of spreads in one click, hedge their portfolios or their individual stocks into a more dynamic thing other than covered rights, married puts, and collars. So that's the exciting things on the horizon for me there. I think I covered most everything.
Yeah, I think so.
I've been a risk doctor ever since.
Yeah, so one of the things we're going to do, folks, and we'll make sure we tag this video, we're going to put some links down, so if you want to find out a little more about what Charles is doing and stuff. But he's going to be, at least this week, he's got to travel next week, but tomorrow we're going to actually set up some trades, talk about how they're likely to work, and looking at different type of durations and stuff. We're going to spend some time talking about some trade setups tomorrow using options and things that are coming out of the system. One of the things that you may not know, and I'm just bringing up a random one on the screen here, is every trade that comes out of our system sets up a expectation. I mentioned this earlier, but we're going to take these expectations both on a short-term basis and a long-term basis, maybe using leaps and doing some really, I wouldn't call them sophisticated strategies, but strategies that are going to help you to participate in a trade like this using options. So for instance, this trade I brought up on the screen just randomly, it necessarily hasn't done that well, but it shows you that it's got 252 days of holding periods, and it's exceeded its normal holding, but it gives you some parameters on how to set it up. So we can actually, what we'll do tomorrow is actually talk about how some of these trades can be set up as an option trade versus just doing an outright. Maybe some of them will be a covered right. What do you call that? A poor man's
Poor man's covered right, where you buy a call that's lower strike in further dated, like a leap, and you begin a regime of selling out of the money calls against it to, like, think of it as like a dividend, and it's a bullish trade, and as the front month, the closer month that you're short comes towards expire, you roll it to something that's beefier and some premium, maybe some another 30 days out, and you just keep doing that, and you eventually end up with a vertical, or you've ended up paying for your long leap. And we have some modifications that Bob and I have been discussing by creating like some intermonth butterflies, where if anybody's familiar with the wings and the bodies of a butterfly, you buy your wings in the back month and you sell closer dated body strikes. So
Yeah.
we got some interesting things.
Yeah, and we're gonna, hopefully we'll figure out how between now and tomorrow bring up, we'll be able to bring up like TOS, and so we can demonstrate some of these trades, and what do they call it? Think back or whatever, maybe even do a think back. We'll see what
Well,
we come up with. Yeah.
because you've identified these newer trades that have between 1 and 6 days that you got your signals, we won't have to go to think back. We
Okay.
can go to think back to see how things would have done. It's just a way to go back and get some old prices. They won't totally jive with your signals because you're end of day and you buy on the opening, and the think back has closing prices. So it won't be as effective, but
It gives you a
it's nice
general
that you
idea.
found this new group that we can do live
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, and so this, Charles and I were talking, he mentioned, I was on the P Coast, and I was actually on a CBOT once upon a time as well. But, the whole concept of being able to bring options in, I made this is when I started this company back in 1998, when I started the whole portfolio manager concept, I said one day, just because of my background, we've got to bring in options, even do the covered rights, or find a way to bring in some option strategies to this. And I know if you're part of our institutional professional community, I'm not sure what you guys are going to be able to do. Some of these strategies do require to have a margin account, and I just don't know what the restrictions are for folks that are in networks. But all the individual traders out there are going to be able to do all of the above. I just don't know the restrictions on some of the advisory accounts and what you can do, and especially if you're within a network of, otherwise you work for a broker dealer and your license is hung under them. So there are some restrictions, I know, and I'm also researching that. But the main goal here is to be able to set up some trades. Charles has written, 3 books and a couple different iterations of those that you've done. And we're going to put the links out there, so there's a lot of information, and we're actually going to get into theory over the next whatever months. I've been working him hard for about a month to try to get him on here, so I'm really excited about having him hanging around, because I think there's going to be a lot of synergies that we're going to be able to develop and really bring in some value to the community, because we've been getting emails and comments on the channel and everything about what we're talking about is, hey, is there any way to do option strategies and all of that? So yeah, that will be exciting. I'm actually looking forward to that. And one of the other things that I hope to do, I brought it up to Charles the other day, is that I would like to take like an entire portfolio and try to develop some kind of relative like beta, put some Greeks on the whole strategy on what it's likely to do and how to wrap up, and maybe do SPY or do some index strategies to protect the entire basket. So we'll figure it out. We're reasonably smart people, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and another thing that we talked about was like a Ask the Risk Doctor sort of segment, or we
Yeah.
could do it by people emailing me a question, charles@riskdoctor.com, and I could develop some imagery and before we get together. I could also do it live, but pull up Thinkorswim or some other software that I use, and we can answer it live like that. But it's all I could prepare something a little prettier
Yeah.
if I had a little bit of time. So if you want, send those questions to charles@riskdoctor.com, and I will go ahead and pick out something that's compelling. And as I start to feel out what the audience's appetite is and what their knowledge level is, certainly if you go and grab that special that you're going to get a link to from Bob's people, it's put together that little thing that should get you up to date, so we could all be on the same page. You can understand the lingo and the concepts.
Yeah, and the other thing we'll do is if you haven't opted into our email list, this is the kind of stuff that I want to offer out to the community, is to be able to put some links, and we can get you hooked up with third parties and other people that we plan on doing some things with, that's going to really help everyone be able to, enhance their trading. And every night I start a video off, I help you manage your portfolio and protect your wealth. Well, this is another segment of protecting your wealth, especially on some of these trades and doing the poor man strategies, and doing some spreads and butterflies and some things that you can do. And it would be also useful, you can use the channel here on this live stream, if you're around right now, is to just let us know on the channel what kind of things you're looking at, because we can capture those things as well. So as we move forward, we start to show you some trade setups that are coming out of the software, then start to convert them into options, and then be able to define some pretty good risk. So, well, hey, Charles, thanks for coming today. I know you got a hard stop you got to hit on, and we're possible. I guess no promises, but I think we're going to try to put something out tomorrow on the live stream, and at least pick on a trade or two, maybe talk about some philosophies around some of these trades and why they work and what their risks are and those type of things.
Thanks for the opportunity, Bob. I'll see everybody later.
Okay. Thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
I'll mute myself.
Okay, folks, it's time for questions, and going back to the presentation I have, anything's open. I would stick to the platform right now. I think I did see somebody wanted to know if what we've done with SLV or something like that. We'll put that up there since silver's on everybody's mind, and it is long right now. This is the daily. You see it just gapping, crazy gap. It did buy it at this breakout point here, so it's had 3 trades, and this is the short-term trade. If we go to the weekly, we can look at that as well. So if you want to unmute, you have a question, feel free to do it. Let's see where so we got a 1628 buy here on this little breakout pattern on silver, and it's still long. You can go to the trade profile, see what kind of expectations it has. It is already, the normal profit on this signal is 22%. It's already exceeded that, because it's P&L right now is at 30%, and a projected profit is 46%. So that is what it's done so far. So I know we got somebody out there with a question. Let's go ahead and do questions. And
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Steve. Quick question. So once you establish a model and that thing's running every day, where do you go? What's the best way to monitor the buy sell triggers? Is it something you check once a week, or does it?
Well, it depends. Yeah, that's a good question. So if you set up an intermediate model and they're all weekly signals, The only time you're ever going to see a signal on one of those is on Monday. So you can check over the weekend or prior to the open. A lot of folks, I would tell them to do is, if you're following a model like that, then you put the trades in over the weekend, just queue them up for Monday's open and let them fly. And you can put them in that way, whatever the trades are. But if it's a daily model, then you need to log in every day and check. And I'm just trying to see if I generated, of course, I've got nothing. Let me try. I'm going to attempt to build a quick model here again while we're talking. But so if the strategy is built, I'm not sure what I name these, so I'm just doing a random name. But if the strategy was built on a daily model, then you could have trades any day of the week. So you have to kind of lock in and look for those transactions to happen.
And do you do that by running the trade log, or is it?
No, it'll come up in the orders right over on the left here. It'll say orders, and
Gotcha.
I'll show you something else here. I'm hoping that these, good. I was hoping these symbols were still queued in. I just want to put some symbols on a daily model just to see. I'm hoping that I get something. Jay might actually know a symbol that's got a buy signal on that I can put in here, but we'll put this in. I'll just build something random.
I can look if you want me to.
Yeah, just look at something and I'll add it in if we have to. Hopefully I get lucky here. So I just put those same 24 symbols that we put in before. Oh, I do daily, weekly. So. I think good. I can do something here real quick. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take these symbols and cut them out and just randomly put them down in a box down here. I just want to make sure, I want everything to be daily. Bear with me 1 second, okay? So I just queued up that strategy, but here's what's going to happen, Steve, is when you go to your orders, you click here, you see there's no orders. You're going to see them there, but the other place you'll see them on your portfolios here, it will show up on the home page. It says, right now it says I have 0 portfolios with pending orders. It will actually show up there. It'll tell you, and it'll also tell you what portfolio has an order. Okay?
And I have one last question. Over the weekend, I was going through your portfolio expert demos.
Yeah.
And that seems to be WaveTech on steroids.
It is.
Is that something but I loved it. Is that something you are planning to push out to retail guys?
We are.
On the WaveTech.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but depending on what you're doing with money and some of this stuff, there's some really amazing things. That product is so powerful, and that is our professional product that we have out. So we're trying to get a reasonable pricing. We have partners in on that, meaning that we've got technology partners and licensing and stuff that we have to pay on that product. So we're trying to come up with the platform itself is all my stuff, but there are some things, like I said, it's like if you look at Adobe, they've got about 50 different licenses they bought to do a PDF. So similar thing. We've got a partner on that platform, so we're trying to consider all of those costs there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Mr. Kendall.
Yes.
This is Damon. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I hate to sound like one of those groupies that follows the Fed chairman around, listening to every word and looking for a clue.
Right.
I've gone back over the months and go back and listen to old YouTubes of yours,
Yeah.
trying to look for your words, and then I bounce those against either the Nasdaq or the S&P for the following day. So when you say words like consolidation, that's usually about a 50 to 150 point Nasdaq move, and then you got nothing major, more difficult trades. So I'm listening for words like that.
Right.
I guess my real question is if when this thing does roll over, or if it ever does roll over, are your words definitive in like we just hit the iceberg, everybody get in the rowboats, or
No,
how do we know this
yeah,
is
so
going to start moving?
yeah, so a lot of those YouTube videos, the way they get tagged and all that stuff, I I will tell you outright to sell or whatever needs to be done. I'm pretty aggressive, and when we see the models rolling over, like I made a comment in last night, even though we saw some downside, as far as a major catastrophe here, doesn't appear to be very likely, and I don't know what that means. Could there be a 5% correction? Sure, but I'm usually pretty good at nailing these things, and very seldom I'm going to eat these words. I know when I say them, but very seldom do I find myself on the wrong side of the fence because of the way that my analysis is. Everything's very methodical. Doesn't mean that that I don't get it wrong, but I don't miss the big trade. And I've been doing this a long time, and I've had lots of eyeballs on me for a long time, for 22 years, and it's the process is going to kick in when we start to see the rollover. Like I mentioned, back in January, we were seeing lots of selling going on, and I was smelling it was getting stinky. It was like, okay, this is getting, there's something going on here. So those are the kind of things that typically happen. Obviously, in the environment we're in now, they could roll this thing over, and it absolutely, and anything can blow up, and we get the big thing. Most people would think the whole COVID thing and March thing was a surprise. It wasn't to me. We were already positioning for risk coming into the markets, and I've done this a lot. And these models have been through a lot. They've been around since the late '80s. So, they go way back. So yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been making a killing riding your system, and I love it. I'm just trying to make sure now I don't miss any of the minute details.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. We get expert out. We're trying to figure out doing a trial. I mean, it's very clunky. Expert it's like TOS. It's an exe download. So it goes on your desktop, and I know we're going to have, especially in a retail community, we're going to have people, because the antiviruses hate EXEs, and they start telling you that you're going to die if you load the program on, and it's going to be catastrophic. So that happens. I know we're going to get a lot of calls, and trying to manage the group is going to be interesting. But once you get it on, and we're trying to figure out how to get it on AWS AppStream, which will eliminate all those issues. So we're working on a couple things, but we do want to get it out there because we've got several people in the community that are wanting to get that. So, and it is a pro tool. I mean, you folks, when I start demonstrating that, this is the lowest. This is cool stuff with WaveTech, but it gets cooler. That's all I can tell you by a long shot.
Bob, can I ask a question?
Sure.
New member, Steve, just going over the program, but when you start a portfolio and it gives you a sell signal, you have a certain amount that's allocated to each stock
Right.
in your portfolio. When it gives you a sell signal, what do you do with that percentage that's now available back in cash? Are you waiting for the next buy?
Yeah, you wait for the next trade. And that's the beauty, actually, just a great question. I hate to say that because that always sounds corny when somebody says that, but it is, because what really happens is you have a constituent list. I don't know how many stocks are in the strategy that you built.
I've just built a watch list so far.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead and dump those stocks into a portfolio. Just see how they perform inside the management system, because it's going to tell you how to allocate. Now, if we're telling you to sell, then yeah, you just get out of that trade if you're doing a watch list, and and then watch for your next trigger point to come in. That will be, really that'll be the next steps as far as that goes. So yeah, but I would just take those symbols, just build a portfolio, just like I did on screen here. Just dump them in there. Just read the rules. Don't worry about too much. You can leave the settings defaulted to whatever the standard defaults are, and it'll build it. Even if you do nothing, you don't even. The only thing I would say is on the step where it says how to use the capital, I would set it for the high activity, low liquidity. Otherwise, target using all the capital. That's the only step that I would pay attention to when I go through that wizard. But I would just put them in there, and then you're going to have this balancing. Then you're going to be able to say, hey, that did pretty good. And if you like what it did, then what you can do, you want to match those. You just start matching the orders. And that's something that the whole concept here is to be able to follow. It's karaoke for the markets, right? And it's got auto tune, so you're always, in theory, buying symbols that are trending, that and they stop trending, then you're better off to step out. Like even Apple got clobbered by the time that next open was this big drastic open when we sold Apple on a short-term basis, but we still made 47% on the trade. So it was a good trade. The trigger happened, we got out, and now all of these symbols look like, to me, like I said, brief comment before we started meeting, is we're entering. I need to start every night's video off with summertime blues, because I think that's where we're going. Is just this really sideways choppy range, and you should start to see the short-term models and WaveTech start to show some pretty decent selling coming in. I've been waiting for this, and it blew my mind that all the stuff that came in. So there's going to be a giant rotation in the database coming, and that's going to be really healthy. And coming sometime into September, maybe as late as early October, we're going to have, I think, the next surge 2.0 when that short-term database starts to roll out, then roll back in. It's actually more of a hope, but I think that's what will happen with it.
Hey, Bob, this is Matt. I'm just barely joined. I've been trying to research some of the NASDAQ, and Dow Jones and just the regular index symbols.
Yeah.
I was wondering how to put some index symbols in there so I can research those and kind of see where the PPMs are, going into the day.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's it. A lot of those big indexes like that don't trade well. You may notice they don't really model very well. And, the best thing that WaveTech does for the most part is individual stocks, for sure. And some of the indexes will trade pretty well. And but yeah, you can use that to bring them up. You can just go into research, bring them up, take a look at the PPMs. I know that they're not the best charts in the world. But you can definitely see a lot of that stuff from the standpoint of, just looking at PPMs, trying to get a feel for that. And
Okay, can you show me where that is? I was actually talking about putting the symbol in so I can see it during the day.
yeah, so which symbol you want? Like, you want?
Let's just do the NASDAQ, for instance.
Yeah, and Jay, you're on the line. I don't know some of these. We have slightly different symbols. It might be like $,
Yeah, there's something else about that I can check.
Yeah,
there's like
check.
asterisks and
Yeah,
here.
there's some weird symbols because our data vendor did something really weird, and the only way we could do it. So Jay will get some symbols, and we'll bring those up to show you how to get them. But yeah, I
Okay,
think.
that would be awesome. Do you think you could maybe post that on the YouTube community?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. I like it.
Okay.
Yeah, that would
All
be
right,
good.
thank you.
Like, here's all the index symbols in the system. Yeah, it's funny because we actually looked at putting, some of these specialty symbols. Like, if you notice on the VPM universe, that's got underscore caret VPM, right? So that.
Right, that was somebody I did notice, and I was like, man, how do I put in these index
Yeah.
symbols into this thing?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it's yeah. So you can actually do underscore and then caret. This stuff goes way back on. Then VPM. Let's see if I got it. Yeah. So there you go, top level. So and so that gives you the big index. So you can actually go in and look at this index on that level. So what all of ours, this is actually a good discussion, what all of the indexes in the system, they're non-weighted, they're price-weighted indexes, not cap-weighted. So everything goes in there. There's I think there's maybe 5,000 some symbols in this universe. And the other thing you can do, I think, let's see if I can figure out how to get there. Yeah, I'm going to do something else. This will be really confusing, but this is kind of trick. Under the Q button, you can go in and look at any symbol. So this is, bear with me. If you hit, you can just bring up, when you see this TCQRR stuff, you can just bring that up. And if I do the underscore caret VPM, it's going to show, this goes back, this symbol, it shows VPM index, and it goes back, and I can graph this data. And this was kind of interesting. Is I never talk about this much, but this index, look at the spike we had in 2000. This is the average price of all the symbols in the database, has never got close to 2000. Matter of fact, it's never taken out the 2009 highs. So it's kind of mind-boggling to think about this, but it's a non-weighted index. So you look at all the indexes that we follow, the S&P, and Dow Jones has the Dow Jones Divisor. There's all kinds of things out there. And that's, this is just a really interesting perspective. And maybe this goes to what I see a lot of people talking about, just the general view of the world that we're looking at. From the standpoint of real value. Maybe this reflects the real value of stock versus the inflated value between buybacks and all of these. Like S&P 500 is run by McGraw-Hill, and their goal is to make the index look the best it can because it's a marketing tool for them. Same thing with the Dow Jones, right? They changed the constituent list. They've got a criteria, and that's why everybody was speculating that Tesla might end up in there. And so anyway, but you can bring up any symbol and you can see the data. Not only can you see the data from this viewpoint, I can also go over here and actual view the data on any symbol. So the actual data is there, and I believe you can even copy, and I guess you could, I'm showing everybody on the internet how to steal our data, I guess. But yeah, so this goes back to every symbol on this index, but it could be anything. I could put Tesla in here. And it also, you can actually they're pretty clunky, but I can graph data, and I just put it on full. Actually, it's not going to go back because the way I did this. But I can put a range instead of going to 2010. We can go to 2017 and graph data, and it's going to show us that data. So it's all there. If you want to see the tablature data, you can click on any of the stuff. You can also put you can put different moving averages in. So it was a lame attempt at having our own charting tool.
No, it's actually really a fantastic tool if I'm especially looking at indexes, because the word out there right now is that everything's in a bubble, and in a tech bubble specifically. But looking back at that data in 2000, that you'd have a hard time saying that compared to the pricing that's here today.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I haven't brought that long history up for a long time. It's in the back of my mind. I remember talking about the last rally, even going back, when we went to new highs after the '09 thing. We didn't actually go to new highs on that index. So it's a much different way to look at the world in an unweighted world versus a non.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Bob, Joe Schliff. I'm a recently new user. I have to say the Kendall reports are key to the whole thing because it's giving you the direction.
Yeah,
And the timing has been awesome for me.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, when you called that 2197, I jumped into 3 stocks and I've ridden them up.
Yeah.
I've made a good amount of money.
That's good.
That to me is the whole key. As far as the research goes, I like to download data to spreadsheets,
Yeah,
and I'm not sure what I'm getting. So I've downloaded, for the 1.2 model, I've downloaded the 1 day and the 1 week. And for the 0.2 model, I've
Right.
downloaded the 1 day and the 1 week. Is that giving me the new buys and sells for that day and week?
yeah. Well, you're talking off the home page. These right here, correct? This link
Yes.
right here, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's going to give you exactly all the new buys and sells. So right now, the stuff that we're looking at was yesterday. So if you want to download that report, put it into an Excel, it's right there.
That was like over 1,000 new buys on the 1.2.
On the
model.
1.2 weekly, yeah, it was like
Yeah.
1,500. And that's one of the things that I had a conversation with somebody yesterday that I thought was important because it was overwhelming. Charles and I were been trying to find some stocks to set up some options and stuff. I go, hey, no problem, man. I'll get them off the run this weekend. And I look, and I get 1,500 cells, and I just stare at the screen. I'm thinking, wait a minute. If I'm staring at the screen, so are you guys.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be.
So-
we're going to work on something There is something on our other software that's really powerful because you can actually run a query and you can actually put a lot of different criteria on it. This product is somewhat limited, although in the report builder, you might be able to pull this off. I put a bunch of these in, but if I go in here, just do new buys, as close as I can get on this report is I can go to none. I think I can pull this off. Let's just see here. Current duration, I'm going to do 1 to 15, so they're no more than 15 days old. And I'm just going to submit this thing. See what I get. There we go. So you can see here, look at this. And you're going to get everything, mutual funds, you name it. So
Yeah.
so you can get
That's why I like the spreadsheet because I could filter.
Well, here's what you can do. So the spreadsheet's there. So if we go back to the report builder, before I clicked on to bring it up here, bear with me. There we go. Right over here it says download. So I can go to new buy and I can do download. And now the CSV is, hang on, it's on my other screen. So the CSV is right there.
So essentially, I can look at the 3.2 model, go back 15 days, 30 days, whatever I want,
Right.
and I can get all the new buys, and I can see how much they've moved already.
Yep.
If I'm still early in the game, I can research them. If I like them,
Yeah.
I can put them in my
Yeah.
portfolio.
And did you see that? Were you on in a part of the presentation? I was talking about the duration and all that, where, you know, how long, like we typically tell you that if it's at least 30% early on in the trade and the holding period, and you haven't,
Right.
and the stock hasn't popped already, then it's probably still okay to come into that trade. But if you do this query I just did here, you're going to find trades that just came in the last 15 days. And unfortunately, this tool isn't as powerful. I don't want to, but on the Portfolio Expert, I did a really cool query, which I said, I want stocks that make 30% on average, but I don't want to risk more than 3%. Show me them. And then I put ER ratio, a bunch of other stuff on them, right? And it brings up a list. And then this thing will actually, I believe these queries update every day when the models run. So if there's any new buys, I think once you set the query, all you got to do is open this query every day.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay. And the other product, actually, you can put, I want it, you can actually do, this one's 1 to 15. You could go, I want nothing that's more than 3 days old. So I want it brand new to 3 days old, period. I want these ER. So we're trying to figure this thing out. Like I said, there's some.
If you could put a video on Portfolio Expert of walking through what you just said.
There is one. If you go to.
For that particular example?
Yeah. Let me show you where it's at. So you go to Portfolio Expert.
Yeah.
And so when you go to support, you go to the Portfolio Expert University.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And then you come down here and the course is Portfolio Expert Beginner, and it'll pop up this little player up over here. I believe that's the next step. Okay, now it says start course. When you hit start course, you'll see a player come up, and down at the bottom, it's going to say query tool.
Oh, that's cool. Wow.
And so then when this comes up, you can play this video, and it's going to walk you right through that step-by-step process.
Query, and it'll come up with a wizard.
Yeah.
And
So
the first thing you
not
have to
going to
do
do
is
you much
give it a
good with
name. We're gonna call this
WaveTech tool,
Demo 1.
but
And when you hit the green plus,
but it'll walk you through everything there.
Right.
But this thing is, there's 42. You can do if-then statements, greater thans, all kinds of the basic logic. Sounds like you're decent with Excel, so that tool is going to be real simple. It's somewhat quirky, but once you learn how it wants to see the values, it's pretty straightforward.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was able to find one index if you wanted to try Russell 2000.
Oh, really? Okay. For portfolio?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was that option? This was this one. So I'm just going to go in to modify this. And it was a daily. What model?
Are you talking about buy orders? Or?
Yeah, I wanted a buy order so I could show them where to find that. So how it shows up in the ordered list.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Give me a second. I was looking at the indexes. Hold on.
I don't care. It doesn't matter what it is. Index is fine.
Well, it wasn't for the buy order. It was just RUT was the Russell.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that
okay,
question.
that question. Okay. Yeah.
That question. I'll get to let me get some buy orders for you.
Yeah,
I
I just
had
need
that
one.
list.
I just want to show, I think Steve was asking what that was.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Anybody else have a question while we're looking at that?
Hey, Bob, I was wondering if you've ever, this is Matt again, I was just wondering if you've ever used that download tool that you were looking at and married it up with macros in Excel to auto scrub or auto filter the data. Have you ever tried that?
We have not. We have done some. I'm trying to get some stuff. We have like this crazy database that we built, Access database, that gives us the ability to see a whole lot of stats that we never built into the platform on any level. And we're trying to figure out, we've got, I think, 7 or 8 years of data on that stuff, and we're trying to figure out how to do something with it. It's a giant SQL database. And just try to figure out how to take some of this stuff and dig into, some of the stats a little better than what we did on our initial thought process when we were putting the product together. But that's probably, so the goal is so you want to filter them? Is that what you're?
Yeah, what I was looking for was maybe, because, as you know, when it comes out with 1,500 symbols, it's a little overwhelming, right? So
right.
What I've been looking to do is, and I may just build a macro so that when, I dump out every day, I have a real quick way to bring that into Excel and get the data organized, because there's certain things that I'm just not interested in, certain sectors that I never trade in.
Right.
Just because they're not interesting or whatever. And so I usually filter those out and then, never trade mutual funds, that sort of thing. So it just, I was just kind of looking for a simple way where I can do it either at night or, first thing in the morning when I get up before the market opens.
I guess you could put a simple filter, and to start with, I guess you could probably pick on some of the sectors. Some of the mutual funds aren't labeled by sector or even mutual funds, so maybe they always have 5 symbols in them, 5 letters in a symbol. So you might be able to filter that as a first level, and then maybe start to chug through the data a little differently. I still think, Steve, and everybody on the call, I still think the best way to do this is to actually put together like a big constituent list, if you will. Like, here's all the symbols, just keep building that thing up. These are the symbols I'm going to trade. And when you get so deep, when you have 16,500 symbols, it's impossible to find these things. So it seems the only way is just to try to find a way to filter, get a list with some type of criteria that you look at. And that's why, some free version of a basic stock screener might be one way to go, and say, hey, I'm looking for these type of characteristics, whether it's capitalization, daily volume, whatever it might be, right? There's some pretty high level screens you could do just to build a constituent list. Get that, make sure they will at least give you a CSV file. You can get a text file and just build a portfolio and dump them in a portfolio. I think you can put several hundred symbols in a portfolio, I believe. So you could build like a giant list, and then you would see on your orders, that's what Jay will, hopefully I can show you where these orders show up, but in the orders, then anytime there's anything new, you just go to your portfolio, click on orders, and there's all your trades right there you need to look at.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That might be easier than, combing through the buys and things like that.
Yeah,
it's been relatively simple to put it into an Excel and do the filtering from there. And I know that I think it was Joe was talking about that as well. So I've been doing some of that, but yeah, maybe that's just the better idea, is just to dump them into a portfolio and then look and see what's happening that day in the I'm interested in.
And what I did, like, even if I go back to my screen here and look at, I built option daily. Let's see here. Yeah, option daily. So all this has, I just put everything on a daily basis, and I don't think there were any orders today. Nope. But yeah, so I just put them in there. I can look at, open positions. I can see, what symbols are being owned, and on the summary sheet. I know that 20 of the 24 are owned right now and all that stuff. And it's pretty funny. It was just trading, just by grabbing this sheet. I think I Googled top volume option stocks, and there was 98 of them came up. I believe that this previous strategy here, I might be in the wrong portfolio. It might be in the wrong. I might have built this under another username. I have like 4 accounts. But anyway, you can dump like all those stocks in there, and it is a very easy way. Not only that, you've got all the access once you get to a portfolio, and then when you get to the even open position, then you can. It's easy to migrate over to just look at Bank of America. I guess Bank of America is like the best bank in the world compared to Wells Fargo, I guess, huh? They're not very much better, but they're a lot better.
Setting a pretty low bar.
Yeah, that really is. That really is, huh? So, yeah, anyway, but that, that's something you could do there. So, Jay, did you find a symbol?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I can at least give you 2 or maybe.
Yeah. Just let me just go here and I'll go to options.
Generate an order.
Yeah, let me go to create modify. We're going to go to options live, which is one we built a little bit ago. We'll go ahead and click down here to portfolio snapshot. I would think create portfolio would be better.
I was going to say. I was letting you find it.
Yeah, I've had to pay off Jay. I did something one day. I don't want any of you people to ever know I did.
Yeah, my lips are sealed. I wasn't even going to bring that up.
Yeah, I'm never going to happen. If it does, I know where it came from. So you're busted.
All right. Both of them are actually daily 1.2.
Okay.
AAN, I didn't stutter that time. It's Alpha November.
Okay.
And then ABEO, so Alpha Bravo X-ray, or not X-ray, Echo October. I had to remember what O is. So ABEO.
Okay. So what we'll do is we're just going to add these in, and I don't care if they're, and I'm just, once I've got them in there, they're both on the screen. Hopefully there it is. And Aarons.
Aaron, D nice. Come on, D nice.
Anyway, so yeah, so now that's allocating. So now, Steve, you'll be able to see where these orders, what they look like. So everybody will be able to see that.
Hey, Bob, I had a recommendation.
Yeah.
This is Chris. I just wanted to give an idea out there for everybody that I've started doing. It's a user-friendly way to manage all the data, actually. If you export all the symbols, and if you're a Benzinga Pro subscriber, you can dump them all in a watch list, and you can track all the signals from WaveTech, get news updates. You can get unusual options activity alerts, block trade alerts, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a good way to add like another layer of data to that export.
So what's that site?
It's called Benzinga Pro.
Is that free?
No, it's a subscription model as well. I think they do have a free trial. I just I'll put a link in the Zoom. It's just it's pro.benzinga.com, and I guess it's regarded as like one of the most premier news services for day traders out there. They're doing a lot of. They've got some good integrations. They just integrated with TD Ameritrade, so they use them as like their news service. Wow. But it's amazing. Like I get information through that platform before I get investor relations emails. It's pretty wild.
Huh. That's a good tip. Appreciate it. Yeah, maybe that's something as we move forward we need to look at as well. Some kind of integration there. We used to have, we had a service there on the symbols here. There used to be where we had all of the fundamental data and everything on here, but the service went. I forget what happened to them. Something happened, and It just never got replaced.
Yeah, I just sent the link in the Zoom chat, so if
Awesome.
anyone free to check it out.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, so this should be run now, and so you can see we have 7 orders. Yay, that's awesome. So I click on this, so what happened is this reallocation orders. So now I click on it, so this is where, let me back up. So in your portfolio list now, you'll see on the side, my portfolios, there's a 7. You can actually just click on the 7. You'll see it highlight when I mouse over. You click on the 7, it takes you right to the orders. And the same thing if I go back to my portfolio list, you'll see the 7 there. It also highlights. I don't have to click on the portfolio and then click on orders. I can just click on the 7 and it's going to bring you right to this point. And so you can see the new buys that Jay identified. And since we didn't have enough money, we had to sell down some of these. And you can see that we're selling 21% of Apple. We're selling 23. And then this last one, Taiwan Semiconductor. That must be a rocket ship. Must be a rocket. Matter of fact, I'm just going to go to research on that. So yeah, that's interesting. Bought on this little breakout. That was timely. This is what I call the Jim Cramer trade. Buy high, sell higher. So that one's working. But anyway, yeah, so all of this stuff on the portfolio manager, when you go there, if you see any orders, you can click on the order number, it takes you right there. And that's why I think, Steve, that would be really powerful to just put a bunch of those things in there. And you could, like I said, build a daily one and a weekly one, and then you're going to see, you know, what, no matter what level of charts you're looking at, you're going to be able to see that. Anyone else?
I just have one more quick question, Bob. This is Joseph.
Yeah.
You're recommending to get a stock screener?
I
Come
think
up with a list and then throw it into your research.
Yeah.
WaveTech tool.
I don't know. Jay's going to cringe when I bring this up. So
another project that I got.
Yeah. Here, I want to show you guys something here, and I don't think would be. I'm going to let Jay answer this question after I expose this thing. I'm just going to our other website here. One sec. He should already know what I'm about to do. But. So I will show this to you folks, and
I was wondering if you were bringing that up.
Yeah, but
no.
But I would tell you this: if this is something we'll put out to the community, if this is something you folks want, we've got quite a few emails. Obviously, we have emails from all of you that signed up for the product. We'll figure out what this would take to do, and I don't think it'd be a much of a charge, but I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. And one of the things that this goes to, that's the chart. This has some basic components I had in the PowerPoint. But if I go over here to download screens, these things are way out of date, probably last year.
Yeah, November. I was just using it the other day. Over the weekend, I was using the list.
Yeah.
It's still somewhat viable. I was getting some use out of it, but
yeah.
But I believe November 1st, I think was that.
Yeah. Hang on. I hear it beeping at me. What is going on? Why won't it let me get there? Bear with me. It won't let me close. There we go. Okay, here we go. So this is what we did. I'm not going to explain everything, but we used to deliver this, and we built a bunch of screens. Over on the far right is all of the fundamental data that we screen for. It's all there. And then over on this side is sector industry, and then in the middle is the VPM status. Let me see here. I'm going to attempt to blow this up so you can see a little bit more here. I went too big. Okay. All right, so over on the left here on this column, what we did is we actually gave you the duration. So it says that this particular symbol, it doesn't matter what it is 74% of the duration of the trade has been realized. And we also have the average gain. We've got a lot of all the stats from WaveTech are already built into the spreadsheet. And then there's a bunch of fundamentals, liquidity and trading. So we actually this is stuff that we screen based on some criteria that will give you a list of stocks. So when we look at available screens here, these are the screens we used to have: accelerating growth, high return, and the way we had this built, if you click on a box, it shows you the style box that these existed in. And it shows you where the kind of risk that they're taking, that kind of stuff. Blended, there's value screens. So there was value, blended stock screens, and then there's the growth screens. And we have US GARP, which is growth at a reasonable price. And so anyway, we used to do these things, and if we get enough, we could probably be convinced to do it. It does require us to resubscribe to a service to do the screening and all that stuff. A lot of the stuff you can do yourself, but this is anyway something that could be out there. For the most part, we could change the branding on these pages and get it to the point where it would be available on Portfolio Expert, maybe under support or something like that. Hard to say.
That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty powerful. The reason why this project got killed is most of our investment advisor folks are just using ETFs. I mean, so we just didn't have enough traction on it. We did once upon a time, and then everybody just went back to ETFs. And like I said, it's interesting because the Fidelities of the world who are charging that don't charge any ticket charges now because they had to compete with what Charles Schwab did last fall when they went to zero. And of course, TD and Schwab are one right now, or becoming that way. And so Fidelity had no choice but to go to zero commissions. And the end of this was that, people weren't trading stocks because there was too many commissions attached to them. Now that there are no commissions, it makes it pretty easy. But yeah, the sheets they're powerful, aren't they, Jay? We built a lot of strategies off of this stuff.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I said, I was using it over the weekend for the
even out of date, huh? Just for some idea generation.
I was making it work though.
Okay, well, I'm sure you're Mr. Wizard with that. So.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, you're welcome.
we were getting some of the questions on YouTube chat line about the going over like the Russell 2000, that one symbol.
Oh,
That
okay.
one question.
That one question, okay. Let me get all this crud off of the screen here. Features are up. I've got so much stuff running on my monitor right now, and I'm trying to find. Okay. And what's the symbol?
RUT.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that was it. I believe that's what you're looking for, but some of the stuff in Expert was listed slightly different. So
Yeah, that'll help.
is that something? I didn't know if that was.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean there it is. Short term 3.2 has been long, caught that top, but it's worked. Up 9%. Yep. So what was the question around it? Just what is the symbol? RUT?
I think, yeah, they're looking for the indices or something.
Yeah. No,
That was
we'll get a list together and we'll put them on the community. That's a great idea. All right, folks. I'm getting pretty tired. Been a long session as always, but yeah, we got a live stream tomorrow, so we'll have lots of fun. I'll have Charles on, and we'll get some option ideas out there. We'll get a bunch of other stuff that is going to be helpful for you folks to make some money.
Hey, Bob, this is Matt. I just wanted to say thank you, by the way. The ranges on the NASDAQ have been extremely helpful. We've made a lot of money just through trading that. So
yeah, I bet.
And all of your YouTube stuff and then the WaveTech database has been fantastic. So just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're really welcome. I could tell you that I've told a lot of folks that this has been a really good experience hanging out with retail folks, and especially that we've got quite a few people that are engaged. And one of the things we're looking at, and Jay's just finding out about this right now, along with everyone else, is we're going to take our top 100 clients and we're going to look at the activity. We can actually see what you folks, we can't see what you're doing, but we can see your activity. So we can get a feel for the power users. And we're going to set up, we're going to have a very discrete group of folks and that we can talk about. We really want to build up a community. We're looking for kind of almost like leaders and people that are willing to share some of the things that they're doing with the product and really build a community out. We're looking at a couple other items and having the community built out so you get a badge and you can see, you're a commander or whatever. I'm not sure what we're looking at as far as a hierarchy, but I think it'd be fun because we've got some people that I already know in the system that are definitely becoming power users very quickly. So now I appreciate everything that you folks are doing and using this product. I'm glad it's working for you. I love my favorite thing is the bottom 3%, which is all the trolls on the channel. And I must have cleaned off 15 bots, scammers today when I was looking through comments. I just try to kill those guys as fast as I can find them. So beware. I'm sure you folks know that these guys are putting phone numbers and links and God knows what. There's just bots everywhere on the internet. So anyway, thanks again, everybody, for showing up. We'll be tomorrow at 1:30, and we'll go to at least to the close tomorrow and talk about markets and go through all kinds of fun stuff. So looking forward to it. So thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great rest of your afternoon. And I believe I'll put the E-mini numbers out on Twitter here before we've got the reopen here. And I will put those out and on the Twitter here in just a few minutes. So thanks again for watching and participating in all the stuff. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mr. Kendall.
You're welcome.